It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
This next one, Brian, you're going to love this question, I think. This is from Carlos. Carlos said, my spouse and I are 23 and 24, recent graduates. So starting out life together, which is great. Awesome. We make $160,000, and maxing out our accounts would put us at a savings rate of over 35%.
That's incredible.
Should we save 35% plus, or can we just save 25% and move on to step 8 of FOO? And this is the parentheses. We want to put in a pool and do the yard on our new house. How should they think about approaching this at 23 and 24?
Oh, man. I know, because
it's a hard one. It's a hard one.
I mean, letter of the law, you have done everything you're supposed to under financial order of operations. You should be allowed at 23 and 24 if you're
now, remember,
saving.
They're recent graduates, so they have not actually begun building their army of dollar bills. They are looking and say, okay, if we max everything out, it's going to put us at 35% plus. Should we stop at 25% and do other things like put in a pool, do the new yard? Let me ask you a question, Brian.
Well, but here's the thing. I think because this is getting into the notorious B.I.G. and Puff Daddy, where mo money, mo problems, and those type of things. I'm probably, because was Notorious B.I.G. on that one, that track?
Fact check that.
Daniel, you're my expert.
He's nodding.
Yeah,
he's
so,
nodding.
But mo money, mo problems is that a 23 and 24-year-old, man, swimming pool and landscaping in the backyard. I worry about, do you turn a financial mutant into a spender? So just be careful. There's a fine line there, because I still think you look in the mirror and go, what am I going to need at 40 and 50? Like this version. I think you just have to be careful with, it's just, I don't want you to go buy the ski boat, the jet skis, and all these things, and then you find out that, oh my goodness, I had a great thing, but I didn't respect the hedonic treadmill. I didn't respect all the things that could build up. Plus, I built so many toys in the background that required maintenance and support that maybe I blew up my financial mutant skill set.
I think it's wonderful that you guys are starting your life together and that you are having these conversations, thinking about this. I am no longer 23 or 24, to the surprise of a lot of you out there. I'm a little bit older than that, but I was 23, 24 at one time. And I am so thankful that in the very first house that I bought, I didn't do things like put a pool in or spend a lot of money on the backyard, because life circumstances changed. We ended up moving to a different area and buying a different house and growing the family. And so I think you have to do sort of a cost-benefit analysis. I don't know how much a pool costs at other parts of the country. I know how much they are here. Well, if you think about how much a pool costs, let's say it was $80,000, $100,000, I don't know how much a pool costs, but say it was a 6-figure sum that it's going to cost you to put that in, and look at the opportunity cost of that 6 figures not working for you over the next 30 or 40 years of your working career, and then how much of that cost will you recoup? And the question I would have is this a decision that makes sense for us to make right now in our current age and stage of life? Now, you may decide that it is. You may be in the home that you're going to be in for the next 40, 50 years. You're the only person that knows that, but that is a very big decision to make as one of your very early first decisions as a newlywed married couple.
I'm going to give up, because we spend so much time on the analytics. I'm going to give more of a emotional or something, just as a guy who's got a few decades under my belt, and the fact that I think back to myself in my early 20s in college. My shower, because I lived with a bunch of guys, it was gross. I could shower and sleep anywhere, and sleep in a hotel room with 6 other people on the floor, and it all seemed reasonable and fine. But as I've gotten older and had more success, I don't know when I became so soft, but now, there's this journey you go on where the nicer you take yourself, and this is where I talked about hedonic treadmill, is that, the human condition absorbs and accepts your surroundings so quick that it will make your head spin. This is what I always talk about with anybody who has windfall, lottery winning, sells companies. and so forth. I try to coach them a little bit as don't do too many of the great things all at once, because you're going to take away some of the fun parts of life as going through and accomplishing and building what that fulfillment, which leads to long-term happiness. And if you do everything in your 20s, you might find that you got to the top of the mountain and then you're like, well, now what?
What's next?
And that's the only thing that I caution for a 23 and 24. That sounds so, because financially, I don't think it's the worst thing, but I just worry, where do you go from here? This is why I say when parents give their kids a Mercedes in high school, I'm like, what are you doing?
Setting up a hard
your
path.
kids are not going to get that aha, holy cow. Because, I mean, my first used car that I bought for myself, then my first new car I bought myself, then my first luxury car I bought for myself. Each one of those are things on a journey that creates a life that's pretty daggum awesome. But you will get soft. Because now I don't know when, because coming from not money to having money, and now I look at the hotel rooms we stay in, I'm like, are we ruining our kids? Because it is one of those things. So a 23 and a 24-year-old, I'm trying not to get so deep and philosophical, but I want you to chart out your life. Go enjoy life. But when I talk about the trips I took to Europe in my 20s, I talk about a bedazzled basic trip where we're dragging suitcases through cobblestone streets, getting ripped off by the locals for all the cab fares and all the other things, because you just don't know any better. Versus, I think about now my 40-something self, where you have the tour guides and you're staying in the plush hotels. I don't want to get away from how great it was experiencing those things in my 20s and now being able to come back in my 40s and do it in a completely different way. So that's not an analytical or financial. It's more of a philosophical of make sure you're building yourself enough ways to keep scratching the itch of success, of that, man, it's fun to be here and what a journey we've gone on.